Hi guys, thanks for tuning into my channel and for watching another episode of Conversations with Diana, where I interview real people who have real stories who are pursuing their passions in order to make a difference in the world. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Don't forget to hit subscribe, like, share, and enable that notification button so you don't miss an episode. And for those of you who wish to be a sponsor for our upcoming episodes, feel free to email me at info@dianamyrie.com. That's info@dianamyrie.com. Anique Cumberbatch is the CEO of Kei Details and Kei Relationships. Kei Details is a multi-functional company with a mission to build healthy and holistic relationships and coordinate authentic and innovative nuptials. As a relationship strategist, Anique uses various methodologies to coach individuals, couples, and groups to foster healthy and holistic relationships. Whether you're getting into the dating scene or a long-term relationship, heading to the altar, or enjoying years of marriage, as a registered clinical counselor, Anique provides the support needed for optimal growth and development within your relationships. Kei Details provides key tips, tools, and resources to strengthen the bonds of your relationship and guidance in creating memorable experiences. Her motto is "No couple left behind." Anique, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you. I'm so excited actually to be here.
From the minute I met you, I wanted to know more about what you do and to just let others hear for themselves more about you and to learn more about what you have to offer the world. So without any further ado, I'm just going to dive right into the next question. Can you share with us, the viewers, a bit about your background?
Oh my goodness. So I am proud to say that I am a 43-year-old young woman. I came here when I was 4 or 5 years old. My parents migrated to Toronto in the middle of December. So you can imagine what that was like. Not only culture shock, but, weather shock, all of the above. And my parents are both ministers. My dad's an archbishop. And so primarily the most exposure I had was through church. I grew up in church Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. That was kind of my life. And so as I progressed in life, became a young adult, I pursued various types of jobs and career paths. Eventually, at the age of 23, I got married and now been married 18 years to my husband, Theron. We have a lovely daughter. Thank you. Lovely daughter, Kiana, who's 16, going on 25, but we love her. And I spent a lot of my time really working with others, empowering others, and doing a lot of work within my church as well. I like to say one hat, but many responsibilities that I'm navigating through and just really trying to walk out my purpose.
Tell us, when did you first begin to realize what that purpose was and what steps did you take to make that dream a reality?
This is where it gets so interesting because I just believe that God works in mysterious ways. And sometimes when we put our plans forward, he's like, that's great, but I have a bigger plan and a better plan. So initially, I started my business as a wedding planner way back, maybe about 15 years ago. And I started to notice a pattern where I'd see a lot of people getting ready for the wedding day. And so the decor, the food, the dressing and everything, but they weren't actually ready for after I do. And so I had been taking, I think since 2014, I have been taking courses through seminary. And part of the courses were counseling, Christian counseling. And I did that for about 4 years. And I had it, but I sat down on it. I didn't really do anything with it. And then over the course of 2020, when 2020 hit, I said, as everybody else, what are we going to do? The pivot moment. And I had planned at the beginning of 2020 to start my side business, which was to really empower couples after I do. And in my vision, it was to do it in person, 5 or 4 couples together and just have a full workshop kind of day. I was only able to get one in And then the week after, the whole country shut down. So I was like, God, if this is what you call me to do, which is what I felt this was what it is. God's pulling me in this direction. For years, he's been pulling me, but yet, here's the roadblock. And I felt God saying, but, there's other ways. And so I said, okay, let me go online. And I started to kind of fill around. And in June, my birthday, June 25th, 2020, I put my first post out there. And the moment I did that, it was just like the floodgates of heaven opened up. And between people DMing me, people calling me, I'm like, God, okay, this is it. And so I was able to spend the rest of 2020 really building my business when it comes to counseling and coaching couples before I do, and now I'm even doing like Relationship SOS, which is helping couples to navigate through their challenges with conflicts, trauma, etc. And so the schooling I did back in, I think, 2014, 15 with counseling is what's now propelling me for my purpose now. So I say, God, it's funny because I wasn't looking at it then. I wasn't even sure what I was going to do with it then. And now in this purpose, it's everything's just falling in place and coming into alignment. And so I'm able to network and collaborate and meet people like yourself and really begin to speak into people's lives and empower them and letting them know that love still exists, marriage is still okay. And as long as we have the tools in our tool pan, we can navigate through all the storms and weather patterns, I like to say, that happen in relationships.
So pretty much the whole business, KEI Relationships, is that the name of the business? Did I get it correctly?
Yeah, Key Relationships. So
Key Relationships.
Yeah.
It really came about through the demand for your services because, as you said, you studied counseling and you really saw the need for persons who were approaching you to get more in-depth premarital counseling. So can you tell us some more about some of the major challenges that you find most couples are facing, especially now?
I think the major challenge is a lot of people come together with different belief systems, limiting belief systems that have never been addressed. And so I may walk in with an understanding of what I feel a wife should be. The gentleman walks in with an understanding of what he feels a husband should be. But I have my own vision of what the husband should be. And he has his own vision of what his wife should be. And that's based on our belief systems. Our belief systems are formed based on what we saw growing up. It may have been what we saw on TV, what we saw at our friend's house. And it quietly, because it's not something where it's going to be like, hey, this is what you believe. It's quietly forming in the background. And so we begin to see life through these filters. So I find a lot of couples come in with limiting belief systems and they're never discussed. And so conflicts happen now because you feel like so-and-so is not living up to your expectation, but you've never actually shared your expectation or your beliefs behind this. So that's really, really common, number one. And number two, the other common thing is the lack of communication skills. And you'd think, you're growing up, you're now an adult, and adults should be able to communicate. But there's so many barriers. There's so many things that stand in the way of the message. And so our attitude, our tone, our behavior, just all of that clouds the message. And so even if we're right in what we're saying, the message and the delivery is wrong, and then creates a conflict moment between couples. So those two things, I guess three, if you want to say, belief systems, expectations, they kind of go hand in hand, and then the communication.
Excellent points. So take us through what a typical consultation would look like. Say you're approached by a couple and someone may be watching, or a couple may be watching right now, who are experiencing challenges in their marriage, and they're recognizing that, hey, I have some issues in this area. Can you take us through what they could expect when they contact you?
So initially when they contact, I send out an intake sheet and it asks a few questions. For example, have you been counseled before? I always like to ask that because sometimes people have gone to other people and they're searching for something specific. So I always want to zone in to see exactly what their needs are, and if I can provide that, if I can meet their needs. Number two, I also ask them what their goals are. I have a favorite question to ask, and that is, if you had to describe your ideal relationship, what would that look like for you? And typically people will go in depth and they'll say, well, we're listening to each other. We're laughing all the time, and we're sharing responsibilities, all those great things. And then my second question is, now let's talk about your relationship currently, right now, today, as of today's date. What are some of the things you need to be put in place for you to get to that ideal relationship you described to me? And then by that, I'm able to see where the conflicts are. And then we discuss together the tools and map out the best way to then get to that look or that feel of the relationship that they're hoping to have. And in some cases, it happens actually often, the husband has his view of what relationship would look like, and then the wife has their view. Then so there's times I have to sit down with both of them and come up with a understanding between the two of them as to what their relationship or would look like. And that usually is how we start out, and then that progresses to many other different splinters from there.
I remember doing premarital counseling before I got married, and one of the things that I recognized is it opened up your eyes to so many different areas that we probably wouldn't have considered if we didn't go through that. Have you found, or have you ever found in your experience, I should say, anyone who decided that, you know what, this is not the right person for me? I'm glad I did this, but I'm glad I dodged a bullet, so to speak, because I do remember a few couples actually recognizing that because of the things that they went through in terms of the whole session, because it was a 12-week session, they realized they were not right for each other. Have you ever had any particular instances like that? Have you ever seen that happen?
Only once so far. And this is why I'm trying to advocate for what I call premarital counseling. So this is premarital. And this is before you get the ring. Because once you get the ring, it takes courage, really, to say no and walk away. Most times when you get that ring, as a woman anyways, you're committed. It's already a quote unquote done deal. So I would very highly recommend people do premarital before the ring comes into play. And that's when you start talking about the things like finances, and the belief systems, expectations, the non-negotiables. I love talking about non-negotiables because there's things that you may tolerate that your partner may not tolerate. But if you have non-negotiables in place, there's something to look back on and reference. So premarital is good. And I've only had, as I said, one case where they decided in that to walk away. But to me, I would back it up even a step further and do premarital. I'm going to coin a name somehow and trademark it. But that's, I believe strongly that, as soon as you start realizing this may be the one, have those difficult conversations with a counselor or a coach so that you can navigate and see, do I want to commit to this person?
What about couples who are already married and you might need like what you call a tune-up or maintenance from time to time? Do you offer that type of service?
Yes, and it's called exactly that, relationship tune-ups. And what that is for those that have been married for some time, I liken it to a car. We have these fancy cars now that tell us, okay, 500 more kilometers and you need a service, right?
Yes.
And it's almost the same thing happening to us, but we ignore it. We ignore the signs where we probably need to get a bit of an alignment done. The wheel is veering this way or that way. It's time to, do some adjustment. So, and it's not been normalized yet. I find now you hear couples saying, I do marriage counseling, or I do, therapy, whatever it is. Before it was, you get married and you figure it out. And if you can't figure it out, then unfortunately, then there's divorce. But I think now we've gotten to an era where we've normalized counseling. And so couples are more comfortable to find a counselor to do those tune-ups. And it could be something simple, just like the car. Sometimes you just need a little oil pop up, right?
Yeah.
Same thing. Sometimes you just need someone to let you know that your love tank is getting empty. And here are some tools and tips to fill up your love tank again. So then you can perform to the best of your ability. And then, in another 3 months, come back and we'll tune up again. So I do tune ups, I call them, and I also do after I do. And what that is especially for those that are recently married within a year to 5 years, I do the after I do because a lot of things discussed in premarital counseling are what I call pie in the sky, because a lot of my couples never lived together. So all the tools I've given them in premarital, some of them they may not know how to use when they get into the real life application of it all. So I ensure to provide my services after I do, so then we can talk about those things that we discussed before and how to implement them appropriately. I was sharing with a couple the other day that, when a plumber, when you have a leak in your bathroom, in your piping, you may call for a plumber. When the plumber comes, he doesn't come with one tool. He comes with a tool pan. And he comes with a tool pan because he doesn't know exactly what he may need to fix that leak. And so it's the same thing when we're in marriages. We do premarital and counseling so we can develop more tools in our tool pan. And so sometimes couples may have a hard time deciding or figuring out, what tool do I use right now in my marriage that can help me to do better and to grow. And so that's where I step in with the after I do. I remind couples, remember when we talked about effective communication? Remember when we talked about listening skills? Remember when we talked about being honest and open and giving real life application and a little nudge, because everyone has it in them to then be the best version of yourself.
It does make sense what you're saying, to have a toolkit, if you will, to help you navigate the waters. Because you'll have days when everything's, as they say, rosy, but you've been married for several years, so it's not always going to be rosy. And the main thing is to remember why you got married in the first place, but to recognize that, as you said, like a car, you have to do your maintenance, you have to, like a garden, water it and do certain things to make sure that it continues to flourish and grow. Who are some of your mentors in terms of, even for your own marriage? Is there anyone specific that you would care to mention, or even for your business?
Okay, so for marriage, I look at my parents. I do look up to them a lot. They've been together for many years. And as I stated earlier on, my dad is a bishop. And so I witnessed him in the trenches, being there for people all the time. And my mom just being such a great support in everything that he did. And they taught me what it means to have a great relationship and follow and support each other's vision and dreams. That is something I brought into my relationship. And my husband, thank goodness, has the same mindset. So we complement each other in that way. But my mom and my dad are definitely role models that I look up to on that end. And then on the business end, I have some great friends that are also counselors or psychotherapists that I look up to. My friend Colleen and is one of them. And I just admire the way that they speak to people. I love the way that they command a room and create an atmosphere and a safe place to land. I always still use that quote where you feel like you can just talk and be comfortable and don't feel judged. So I do look up to her as well in that counseling field as someone that gives me the inspiration to continue doing what I do. For sure. I have another friend, Josette, and she's my business. Like, she's the one that kicks me in my behind. I'm like, what are you doing for business? Like, let's go, let's scale, come on. And because I'm the type where I'd want to help, but I'm not looking at the finances. I'm not looking at the business plan. And she kind of whips me into shape when it comes to that.
I like that you have multiple mentors and different people for different things. And for any successful relationship or business, you definitely need a coach or a mentor to just hold you accountable. And as you say, to, give you that little kick when you need it.
Yeah, for sure.
Can you explain how, especially now during the pandemic, there's so many relationships being tested? You hear the statistics about the divorce rate increasing. And I do see why the demand for your services has increased. So that's great. But can you talk about what kind of advice you would give anyone who is going through a challenging time right now, whether it be their family relationship or in general?
Yeah. It's a tough time all around and in so many different aspects of a relationship. And I'm just going to start with the relationship, I guess, between, let's just say, a couple, and then we'll move on to family. For a lot of couples, they're now spending more awake time with each other than they ever had to before. Reality is most couples saw each other in the morning for an hour and then again in the evening for maybe 2 to 3 hours. Now working from home, a lot of people are spending 24 hours, together, waking hours, 12 waking hours possibly. And because of that, people are not getting the me time they used to be able to tap into. So as a result, everything is heightened. We notice he's doing this and he's doing that. He always used to do it, but we weren't home to kind of see all of that, right? And in those moments when we're in a heightened emotional state, we're not logical. We're not making logical, sound decisions. We're not being able to really look through or look at things through a good lens. We're more looking at things through our emotional state. So if we're feeling down, everything is going to seem down. Our conversation is down. Our attitude is down. And so we see that happening during the pandemic. And then when it comes to family, the same thing. Some of us with our children, those that have younger children, we never got to see them during the daytime when they were running laps in circles and in the classroom and doing all of that. So now being with your children, although it may sound bad, but for such long times or long periods of time, it's challenging. So you have the challenge of the relationship, the challenge of the family dynamics. You don't have your me time or downtime. You're in a natural heightened state all the time till you go to bed and you wake up back again. It's the same thing. So I've been encouraging my couples and families to set aside some me time. Easier said than done. But it could just simply mean going for a walk in the morning. It could mean at nighttime while everyone's gone to bed, you go and sit on the porch if you have one, or go sit in the car. I love to sit in the car. I'll drive home. When I get home, I sit in the car, sometimes half an hour, 45 minutes, 1 hour, just sitting in the car. And it just helps me to reset and get ready for the next thing. And once you get to tap into what that me time looks like and actually follow through with that, you're better able to cope with the day-to-day things that your family demands or even your spouse or your partner demands. So the pandemic really has also shown us ourselves, who we are, what we're about. It also showed parts of us that we never knew existed, emotions that we never knew even existed. And so it's for us to kind of also do a wake-up call and to do an internal check to say, why am I feeling this way? What's happening? And if needs be, seek supports. And as I said, now we've normalized it a lot better. So thank God for that. But seek support so you can get more tools in your tool pan to cope for yourself during a time like this, right? And there's no blueprint. I like to tell people, there's no blueprint. How do you navigate a pandemic? There's nothing. So we're all trying. And the key word I'm saying is trying. Get up, try something, do something. Don't just sit or roll over and just say it's over, it's done, I can't bother. But get up and keep trying.
That me time is so very important. I'm glad you brought that up. And I'm also glad that you mentioned that it's about finding that time for yourself to just unwind. Like for me, I like to read a book. I read a good book or watch a show or talk to family. Is there anything else that you want the audience to know about you and your business? You care to share anything else with us?
Sure. I guess I just want everyone to know that my services are here to help couples and individuals navigate through this challenging time and to really build healthy and holistic relationships. A lot of times we spend time looking at the neighbor or the couple next door or down the street. And sometimes what you're looking at is artificial turf. And what I mean by that is there's a saying that says the grass is always greener on the other side. But sometimes the grass is not grass, it's artificial turf. So appreciate your own grass. It could be burnt, it could be full of weeds, but it's yours. You can create the atmosphere or get tools, whatever you need to then water your own grass and really get to that place where you feel like the best version of yourself. Your family is functioning to the best of its ability.
looking across to someone else, it will always appear that the grass is greener until you get over that side. So this is a great point. And I'd just like our audience to know how to reach out to you. For anyone who may be watching that needs to connect, how can they connect with you?
I like to say I live on Instagram because the other platforms are too challenging for me. So you can find me on Instagram at KEI, that's KEI underscore relationships. And in my bio, there's a link there for a clarity call. So you can always click the link and then put in your information. I provide a complimentary clarity call where we can just talk and chat about what you may need. And I'm a relationship strategist. So what I do is I may not provide you the services myself, but I may align you or direct you into the right direction if it's something I can't provide for you. So I believe in using a village. I have a village of people that I work with. So depending on the clarity call, I can then direct you in the right direction to ensure that you get the support.
Thank you so much, Anique. And I will drop those links in the description of the video below. It was such a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us on the show today and for sharing your knowledge and just letting us know more about how to navigate those waters of relationships and marriage and even business.
Thank you. It was my pleasure. And I wish you all the best. This is an awesome platform and I appreciate the invitation.
And just for everyone watching, I want you to also check out Anique's links. As I said, I'm going to drop them in the description below. Tune in next time for Conversations with Guyana. Thank you for watching. Thank you so much for joining the show. Welcome. Thank you so much, Marcel. It was indeed a pleasure.